Hey, Jay.
Hey, Natalie.
How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm really good. Do you know why I'm so good?
We had a guest show up.
We did. Oh, I love that. I love that. It makes me feel so good down to you, but it helps my self-esteem. I'm not
Me
going to lie
too.
to you when they show up and they're all excited
I know.
and I can't believe who we have
I
on
know.
the show today. We have Mike Marchetti. Now, do you know why Mike Marchetti is so wonderful?
Well, there are many reasons. I'm on Team Mike. So, I mean, but
that's the whole point. Everybody knows that. Okay. So here's the thing. We also had Doreen, Mike's wife, on, and you definitely don't want to miss Doreen. She was awesome. But now we get the other side of the story.
It's true.
I love it.
True.
So ooh, it's going to be good. Mike, we are so happy to have you with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And now you'll get the truth.
Oh, oh my gosh. Hey, Mike, you know what? This is the thing. Mike's accent isn't as thick as Doreen's.
That's true. That's true.
I'm not gonna lie. Tell us about Mike.
Okay. So Mike, his background is funny to me. So electrical engineering, quality assurance engineering on missiles and US fighter jets. But then Mike, you went out into fast food franchising and had 80 stores nationwide. I don't know. You just changed careers on us. You've been a consultant. You've been a mentor. Sounds like you're an avid chess player. We haven't even discussed that yet.
We didn't even play chess.
I know during our visit, and we are so happy once again to call Mike a friend. He shares 2 adult sons, Anthony and Christopher, with his wife, Doreen, of 33 years, and they are truly a caregiving family. It is a family affair. Now, many would say that caregiving started with his mother-in-law, Delores. Delores eventually moved in with the family and today resides within 15 minutes of the family residence. But I think Mike's story started a long time prior to that. He's been a long distance caregiver. He's a caregiver for the caregiver, Doreen. He needs to be a caregiver for himself. And Mike, we are happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Are you sure I'm the one you want to talk to?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You guys are great. You're very committed and loving and interested in getting to the facts. That's great.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, Mike is so gracious. We were talking before we jumped on and we knew, we had the opportunity to hang out with Mike and Doreen at their house before we went for Jason's follow-up appointment, and we had the best time. And if you've never played bocce ball, I'm going to tell you right now, it was awesome. And really the backyard, we just hung out and it was really cool. And Mike and Doreen are just easy to talk to. They're just great people. You know how you meet great people, Jay, and you're just like, oh, I want to be their besties forever, even if they don't want to be mine.
Yeah. That's what Mike and Doreen got.
That's exactly right. They like, again, they can't get rid of us. And so Mike has been a caregiver, and I think many caregivers, they don't recognize their responsibility. They don't see themselves as a caregiver. And so when we originally got Mike's caregiver story, he talked about Delores, who we love. Delores is awesome. It's Doreen's mom and it's his mother-in-law, but he also supported his mom too. And so that's where I kind of want to start, because I think Mike would have jumped ahead to Delores, who is a diva. And kind of talking a little bit about, you grew up, and Doreen said that you had a pretty awesome childhood. So great family, et cetera. Why don't you tell us a little bit and how, kind of get up to your mom's story?
Well, I've no question. I've been blessed. Wonderful family. My folks were great, very loving. Hugged and kissed my dad every day to the day he died, and same with my mom. And we've just always been very close. It may be an Italian thing. I don't know, but it's.
Oh, there you go.
As long as people feed me, I'm very affectionate.
Me too.
But so they've been great. My sister ended up living in Maryland, which is about 3.5 hours from our original home. And I'm here in New Jersey, which is about an hour and a half from where I grew up. But my folks were great. I definitely was blessed.
Oh, I love that. So kind of fast forwarding, I know that the kind of the piece that really stood out to me, because we have these relationships where as adult children, we support our parents in general. And so, but your mom was, after I'm assuming your dad had passed, your mom was alone and she lived independently, right?
Correct.
And so, and how far did your mom live away from you?
About an hour and a half, about
Okay,
75
that's not
miles. Yep.
far enough, but not a drop-in situation. And so that's why I moved to Virginia. And so, so, so your mom had been living, how long did your mom live independently after your dad passed?
About almost about 15 years, roughly.
Wow.
Or
So
I'm
she
sorry,
lived
about
on
20 years. 20
20
years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our grandmother was kind of the same way. And so she lived about 20 years after your dad had passed, and she never went into assisted living, never went into skilled nursing, right?
That's correct. And she lived in a great neighborhood. People were very close. She had a network of friends. My mother was
Yeah.
always very active, doing
Yeah.
things, helping other people. And it just was a great cushion of people. They were
Yeah.
great.
It shows
Yeah.
the importance of having a network and really having neighbors that are really family, if you
Yes.
think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A tribe.
So your mom actually did really well for the longest time. And it was really towards the end of her life, the last 6 weeks or so, you said that she called you up and said, "Hey, I'm not feeling well." So, a little bit, maybe a high level of what happened there.
Sure. Actually, what actually happened was a neighbor had called me originally,
Okay.
and our next door neighbor, and she's still with us. I call her every now and then. She's like a second mom to me, and she said that my mother wasn't feeling well, and I called my mom, and my mom said, yeah, she wasn't doing that great. It was an intestinal issue.
Yeah.
So I was able to drop everything. I drove up home and saw her, and immediately took her to the hospital. And the hospitals in my hometown aren't the greatest, so we went to a different town, a larger town with a much
Yeah.
better network.
Yeah.
And she ended up on the critical list, critical care for about 6 weeks, and I was able to be with her every day, actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
were you working at the time, Mike?
I was, and I was at NJIT, the college here in New Jersey, and they were wonderful. They
Wow.
supported me completely. I touched base with them on a daily basis, but it was maybe 10, 20 minutes a day, and that was it. They
Yeah.
just they let me go. It was great.
Did you have to take FMLA or intermittent FMLA, or was it just a handshake, a nod, you know what I mean?
It was a handshake and nod, and hope things turn out well.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's, I mean, and I know that was a pretty an emergency type situation, but that's really one of the first times that you stepped into that role while you were there at the hospital, Mike. But during that time, even with people that are in the hospital with a situation like that had to be exhausting. You're there every day.
It was a little exhausting, yes. And you've got, not just physically, but you've got the emotions tugging at you, every day, and you're always hoping for the best, and it is tough. It is.
Yeah.
No, I think it is. And I just think that, and so I'm assuming Doreen was holding the home front.
Oh yeah, we spoke several times a day, and she was always loved my mom and very passionate about her as well. And her support made a key difference for me as well. Certainly.
Yeah. I think when you've got that level of support, because you're caring for your mom and supporting her, and care doesn't have to be tangible. Like the care is the sitting at that hospital, and some people could say, well, that's just my responsibility as a son. No, there's lots of people who don't go visit their parents towards, especially whether it's in the hospital or towards the end of their life. That is a support to that person. And I would, and I know that you were probably advocating, talking to nurses and doctors and what's going on. And that is a caregiver role. It's hard for us to see that, because I think some of us say, yeah, that's my son role.
It's interesting. One of the big pluses to my being there was the fact that the medical team knew that other people cared as well. And that really helped to motivate them also.
Yeah.
So mom wasn't just another number, bed 7, whatever. She was Mike's mom.
Yeah.
And it did make a difference, I think.
Yeah. And that's the huge part of advocacy, I think, is they have to see someone as, it's not just a number like what you said, Mike. They have to be a person. You have to see them as that's a mom, or that's an aunt, or that's a sister. And until they get to that point, it can become so methodical, just it's treatment. And that's it. It's a checklist.
Yeah. And the nursing people were phenomenal. I mean, they work so hard. Every one of them has a back pain.
Yeah.
It's a tough,
Absolutely.
It's a tough job, and they're great. But yeah, you're right. It is a job, and my being there, I think, helped to put a little personality into that relationship as well.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that's important to note. And as much as whether it's 5 minutes or hours that you spend with the person that's in the hospital. I mean, I remember with our grandmother, we had somebody that was there just all the time. And so they just got used to the family, like these are their people, and they know they're a little bit, I know they're not, there's no difference in care that's provided, but we think there is, because it's so much more personal.
Yeah.
So after this time, fast forwarding, about how much time goes by before you guys realize we probably are going to have to support, I know you call her mom, Delores.
Yes, Delores. Well, she had showed signs of Parkinson's. I don't remember exactly, but roughly 10 years before we decided to bring her to our house. She lived in Pittsburgh. And we were concerned about her health and safety. She had an up-down condo kind of a thing, so there were a lot of stairs, and that was a big concern to us. So we brought mom over around 12 years ago to our house, and we had we were fortunate. We have a setup downstairs where we had our own bedroom, bath, little kitchenette. And she wanted to be a private person as well, as much as she could.
Yeah.
So we were able to give her that privacy, and then she could be with us when she wanted. So, which was every mealtime at least.
So you are, of course, Dolores has moved in. Now you guys have 2 sons. Now, are the boys, they're probably is high school and college at that time, 10, 12 years ago? Is that?
Yeah, they were high school. Yes.
Yeah. So you've got them. And then Doreen, I know her job, she travels.
A little bit of a job.
She has a job as well. So you're working. I'm thinking Doreen is working. You have 2 boys that are active in sports.
They are quite active.
Dolores is downstairs. So how are you feeling, Mike?
I felt like a circus juggler. It was wonderful. It was it was an interesting time, no doubt about it. And when my mother-in-law began wearing my wife's jewelry, no, I'm kidding. But it worked, we were and I have 2 sons who are phenomenal. Doreen and I are very lucky, and they were always contributing in every way they could. And through the years, they canceled many of their own events to help my mother-in-law as well. So it was very good relationship. But yes, a lot was going on, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to not answer this question, because if Doreen is around the corner, this. So what did you think about the time that you said, we've got to move mom in with us? Like, this is your mother-in-law, and everybody has stereotypical mother-in-law stuff. I mean, I know Delores was probably strong-willed, and I think Doreen gets it honest. But how was that the idea of like, I'm going to move my mother-in-law into our home? And that's not, I mean, when Jason and I got married, I didn't think about like, oh crap, like I might have to move other people in with us. So was that just a full force, or you're like, well, here we go?
I reached out to my network to see where I could move to. I love my wife, and that is what motivated me to say, sure, let's do it. And that's what took precedence. But also, she needed the help, and it's hard to turn your back on someone, even if it is a mother-in-law. So it was fine. It was an adjustment for all of us. It was fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you didn't say it was an adjustment for all of us, I'd be like, Mike, now you're just lying.
Yeah.
The requirements for this show is
You're
honesty.
confessing.
You're
I-
okay.
So I know like when the decision was made, so not only was it we're moving Delores in, but there was some renovations that had to be done to your house. So not only was it just okay, we're going to move mom in, but there was also, and I know there has been a financial cost to all of this as well. So I mean, it's you are a champ, to say the very. That's why I'm on Team Mike. But but yeah, I mean, there's a lot, and so I know there are a lot of people out there that it's a long discussion. But for you to just say, "I love my wife," and it was the right thing to do. But when was there a moment where you were like, "Holy crap, is this? Are we really going to do this?" Or were there other options?
Well, finances and stuff.
Yeah.
We knew it meant a significant commitment, no doubt about it. But it was a very, I don't know, I know it sounds strange, but it was a very natural thing. The harmony of our family remained intact. And in fact, in an unusual way, it actually was reinforced in many ways through these actions.
Wow.
So it was tough, no doubt about it. But we feel good.
And we're not digging. Like this is the thing. We're not digging. So the financial cost though, how, because I mean, there's no grants out there at the time for you guys and the government's not letting Delores be your, another dependent with the boys. So is that having to dig into savings? Is that, because I know that Delores, didn't have a ton of extra funds just because of her own personal situation.
Doreen, it's funny. Doreen took care of her mom ever since she was a teenager. She would help her mom out financially from her babysitting money that she made when she was a kid. And that really became a theme throughout her life. So my mother-in-law had nothing. The condo she was living in was one that my wife had purchased for her. So in a weird way, maybe this was a cost reduction. I'm not sure.
Okay. I love how he just flipped that onto the silver lining.
Yeah. He's like,
the glimmer, hey, we actually saved some money.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Mike says, my mother-in-law, to an extent, she had nothing, and that was a physical, but in everything else, Mike, it sounds like she had everything. And I know even to this day, she still has everything. So you guys, you move her in, and I know she's downstairs, but how, just curiosity, because we have a lot of people who say, Emily, our sister, for example, we moved mom in. So, and this is fair because it can be funny situations. It can be funny stories. How is having, you've got the boys, you've got Doreen in the house, they're normal, but that's your family, first family, but normal, whatever you can call that, but you've got your mother-in-law in there too. So at that point in time, I know that she has a movement disorder, but is she still coming up and down in the house? Are there any surprises like, oh my gosh, work being disrupted, anything like that?
I couldn't walk around in my underwear anymore, which is a real drawback.
There's that. Thank you, Delores.
But actually, and when she first came, yes, she was very mobile, and we have a very short staircase here, so she was able to navigate the stairs without a problem. So yeah, she'd pop up different times, and it was fine. She was never an obstruction per se. It was just a different game we were playing, which is fine. But yeah, she was great. She was fine.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I had to change my mother-in-law jokes, but other than that,
Fair enough.
Fair enough. So as you're, we know, and we're very aware of this, Parkinson's progresses, and and her limitations start to increase, and the boys. Is Delores going to all the boys? Athletics or events and all that? Is she just totally just like part of the invite at this point, or is she just she wants to live as much independent as she can?
It's interesting. She's always independent. So in the initial stages when she was here, she would always partake in a lot of the athletic events. My boys were very active in all the sports in school, and that kind of town sports, that kind of stuff. So we were always there. We tried to attend everyone. And Mom came to many of them. When she became more dependent upon us, then we forced her to come to all of them.
Yeah.
Which she enjoyed, actually. It was,
Yeah.
it brightened her up. You could see it in her face.
Yeah.
And, and that was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting.
That does make sense. Well, and so in the last, I mean, you have COVID. Well, actually, I don't want to get to COVID. You have all this stuff going on. You're supporting your mom. You're supporting Doreen, who is supporting, or not your mom, but Delores. You're supporting Doreen, who is supporting her mom and the boys. And then you get the notice that you have a pretty significant issue with your own health, and you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yes, it was. And it was interesting.
And he laughs. He's like, "Oh, it was nothing."
He's like, "Oh, it was nothing."
It was crazy. It took him 2 years to find it, and it was a tough case, definitely. And I made the rule as soon as I found out that I had it. Number one, I would not look up anything on the internet, because I'm no doctor, and whatever you read, who knows if it's right or wrong. So I did not look up a thing about this particular disease. And the other thing was, I was going to tell everybody I knew that I had cancer. Not because I wanted to see tears and that kind of stuff, but because I wanted to get the names of some good doctors.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you really blow up your network as much as you can. And I believe earnestly that I am alive today because I let everybody know I was sick. I was able to find an outstanding physician, an oncologist. He sent me to an incredible surgeon. And outside of this oncologist's hospital, he sent me to a totally different surgeon, different hospital. And after everything was said and done, after 7 years, because this particular cancer could recur after 7 years, after 7 years, my oncologist finally said, and he was seeing me every other month for that time period. He said, Mike, he goes, you look good, you're clear. Finding something now would be like finding a needle in the haystack. And I've got to tell you, I didn't think you were going to make it.
Wow.
I'm glad you didn't tell me that at the beginning. So,
Amen to that. Amen.
Inspiring zero confidence.
Yeah.
You're like,
so
no,
it definitely added a wrinkle to the whole caregiving process, because now, my wife really was pushed very hard with everything going on, and my boys. But they were, that caregiving as a patient, that caregiving gives you the sense of confidence, of well-being, and that helps the healing process. At least in my case, it did. There's no question it did.
Yeah.
And without them, it would have been a very different outcome, no doubt in my mind.
well, and so it's interesting because, so Doreen has a job, like we were talking about it, that had her travel a lot. And this was interesting because I want this to be heard, because I'm so impressed by this. This is taking caregiving to a different level. Doreen had the opportunity to be gone for a month and do some charity work with IBM. And so you were home. The boys, I think, were in college at this point.
Correct.
And the plan was, there was some grant funding that allowed for her to be able to do respite, and she could go. So Delores, because I think the way that it was shared with me is that really physically you didn't have the strength to be able to provide 24/7 care because it was just you. Is that right?
Correct. And because of the surgeries I had, yes.
Yeah. And so, because Delores needs a lot of assistance at times. At this point, she's further along in the progression of her illness.
Correct. Yeah, she's at the point now where she can no longer walk, can no longer stand without major assistance. So it's tough, and she doesn't speak anymore.
Right. And so I think this says something to your marriage and your love for your wife. And I'm going to say it, is you encouraged and supported Doreen to go and be gone for 30 days. And you were going to be, now Jason would say, good move, Mike. My Jason, like, could you take Natalie with you? But, you guys had made a plan for her to go into respite, and you were going to go visit, do what you normally, you would visit her and that sort of thing. And so it sounded like a great idea. Everything looked right, right?
Yes.
And then we're like, and then what happened?
Because Doreen's gone at this point. She is living her best life doing charity work.
Yes. And normally, you know, if you're on the outside looking in, I'm in a situation now where my wife is leaving for a month. My mother-in-law lives with me, but she can't talk. I'm in the perfect world now.
Yeah, honestly.
So we find a place within 10 minutes of our house, and we bring her there. It looked great. Everything was fine. The conversations with the caregivers looked good. So we were very happy, but something in me was rubbing me the wrong way. I can't put a finger on it, but I just, you know, how you sit at a great table, but the table rocks.
Yeah.
That's what this was. Something was. So we brought her in on a Saturday. And I said, you know, I'm going to go in tomorrow, being Sunday, first thing in the morning, right after meal is served, because I wanted to see that dynamic. And I was going to come in unannounced just to see. So the next morning, I go in at 10 a.m. Sunday morning, and I walk into my mom's room, and she is literally sliding out of her chair. Her meal is upside down on the floor. She's crying. And it was a disaster. And I just literally hit the roof. You don't treat your dog that way. So I called the nurse in, couldn't find one. Finally got one to come in and to get her dressed. And I said, I am out of here. And I just let her know, I wasn't screaming, but I let her know very firmly that I wasn't happy and why. And I said, I'm leaving. Oh, you know, you can't leave. I say, I'm leaving right now with her. And so got her together, put her in a wheelchair, and I was wheeling her out. And I got intercepted in the main lobby of the building as I was walking out. And my son came down with the truck to pick us up. Mm-hmm. And the director of the facility was there. And I told her exactly what happened and how upset I was. And then a gentleman came up and said, you have to sign this form before you can let her go. And so he handed me the form. I looked at him, I put it up to his face, and I ripped it in half right in front of him. And I said, you can put this form where you'd like. And we walked out. It was unbelievable. And that was my first hardcore taste of care in facilities, these senior type facilities. And it was not very positive.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing, folks, let's remember Delores is nonverbal at this point. She doesn't speak. She's in a wheelchair. She does. And so this is the thing about Delores. She lets you know what she wants. She
can communicate.
Looks. You can communicate with her, but she's not highly verbal. And so
at that point, she was not correct.
Yeah. And so then you have Mike, who there's a reason that they were placing Delores there, because you really physically were not able to do all of the things. And you just said, screw it, I'm taking her. Like, I'm not doing this. And you put yourself aside. And that speaks to a lot of who you are. And I know there was another person who was connected with you guys with care, supporting Delores as well, who, I mean, God was looking out for you. I mean, he was like, I got you, Mike.
You're absolutely right. And that's not the only time he was looking out for me.
Facts.
But yes, you're absolutely right. And again, it goes to this your personal network of friends and supporters and family. You can't live life alone effectively. And without all this help from everybody, and especially my sons in this case, you're going to fail. And so I was very fortunate, big time.
So I'm going to go further because I swear we tried to get Doreen on this too. And she was tight-lipped. I'm like, dude, I'm pulling this out of you guys because this story is beautiful. Yeah. So there's a lady that comes in and basically moves in with you for the month that Doreen's gone to help with Delores. And between you and this lady, and I'm assuming the boys were also helping as well.
Yes.
To their ability that they could, considering they were in college. You all made it work.
Yeah. We did.
Everybody lived through it, basically, Mike.
Yeah, including
Got it.
Delores. And
And-
so, yeah, go ahead.
No, that's okay.
So I just think that speaks to, I think that speaks to your character and who you are as a person. I mean, you put yourself aside.
I appreciate it, but it's it's another human being, right? It's you want to do what you can to make life great for everybody somehow. And my mother-in-law, she was always there cooking, doing great things for family and things like that, and because she had the same context, and so yeah, we were all. It was a very positive experience. It was tough, but very positive.
So Natalie, I think this is like, we had Joy Laverty on here, and she was Italian too. And it's always like, it's family, it's Italian, it's food. And so I know eventually Delores got to a point where she is in a community now. She's in a nursing home, a skilled nursing facility. Mm-hmm. But I need people to understand that she's not just there. So how are you still caregiving, Mike?
Well, it's interesting. So, these places, they mean well. They really do. They want to do the right thing, but the problems are entrenched into the system itself. So this particular facility we have it is incredible. It is beautiful, it has fountains, it has a huge back area, acres large, where you can go and sit and relax and enjoy the views. The building is top notch, but that's easy to do. That's not hard to do. You got to raise the money, don't get me wrong, but that's not hard to do. There's a lot of very compassionate people out there who will do that, who contribute, who help. The problem is the software. It's the people who man these facilities. It's what are they like? What are they doing? And so our challenge there, and they mean well, but our challenge there is we're not seeing the kind of level of care that we would hope for. So we're supplementing that. Mm-hmm. And so I was there last night until 9, for example, where I was with Mom. My mother-in-law, we try to feed her at least one of the 2 meals a day. And we'll talk with her and walk her around and try to engage with her. And so that's what we're trying to continue to bring to her, some kind of sparks or sparkle or whatever into her life. And then we also have a caregiver for the other meal in the day who will help her as well and do the same kind of thing. The facility is wonderful, but the staffing is tough. It's tight, and there are some issues there.
Hey, ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day. And the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the US and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing.
And then you guys also, when we were there, so we got to see Delores at the facility, but then she came home. She came to visit. I watched a team of people bring her into the house, do her wheelchair around the house. You guys got her into the house, up the steps, into another wheelchair transferred. She dined with us. You fed a group of people. Then we had a smaller meal the night prior. This care just continues, and there's no extent, there's no limit. We will, whatever, you just do it.
Yeah, it's we try to get her over a couple times a week, and 2 to 3 times, and she seems to, now she's pretty much shut down in every sense. So we try to get that twinkle in her eye, which we do now and then, happens. But it's it's good to have, and we've seen it's 15 minutes away from here. If my sons are here, and we're able to get her out of the car and up the little steps we have, they are a huge help. And so we do try to do that. And it's been, it's good. She's got to sit somewhere. So I want to have her sit at home with us.
I think that, because I'm going to back up a step. What was the discussion like, Mike? What was the discussion like between you and Doreen? Because I know this was very hard for Doreen when you said, I think it's time to go into skilled nursing. What was that discussion like? Because did it last for a long time? I know there was a wait list because this happened during the pandemic. Original. What was that like? And because it wasn't like you were like, yes, she's gone, we've got our life back.
It was tough. Doreen had signed up for this particular facility, which is considered to be the best in New Jersey, about 3.5 years prior. So we were on that waiting list for years.
Wow.
And and Doreen knew, unfortunately with Parkinson's, you know the direction you're going.
Right.
So and then I had another surgery, which was
that's right. Mike got sick.
I had hernias. So they thought I had 3 hernias. When they opened me up, they found 6. So it was wonderful. So I was wondering why, when the wind blew, my body hummed. So I could no longer lift her. So that was kind of a tipping point for us. We couldn't take care of my mother-in-law safely without having at least 2 people who could lift her.
Yeah.
So it was a tough day, but one that we had to engage with.
Yeah. I see that. And I think that's important for folks to know. They're so kind in how they describe there's so much love for Delores. And I really fully believe that is the reason that she has had such a very extended life, because Delores is 92.
Yes.
And so she's been with you a while, Mike. You're right.
Yeah.
When she starts putting on Doreen's jewelry, you're like, it's fine. And so it's fine. We don't care. But I see, let's be clear, because we got to be there with you. And honestly, all I needed was like to hit record, because JJ and I got to watch this. And it was, we went over with Doreen, and there are all the steps that you guys take to make sure to support the staff to do their job. You all take a lot of steps to help their staff be successful. From naming they have labels on the drawers of her and labels on everything to help your staff that are employed versus the staff that are from the service, because every group has a shortage. So you have to accept that there are agency folks that will come in. And they are individuals who don't know your loved one. And so are there lessons learned from putting Delores, having Delores transition to a skilled nursing facility that you'd say, hey, these are things that we learned and that we did proactively to help everyone be successful? It's my nice way of putting it.
We ended up learning a lot ourselves. There's no question, and COVID had a major impact on this. There's a great shortage of skilled staff in these facilities. So we wanted to try to make things as simple as possible for the staff to get a better feel for my mom-in-law, again, because she really can't communicate. So she can't plead her own case when we're not there. Whenever we can, we touch base with the caregivers and speak with them and joke with them and push them in a polite way. And it's still very hard because I think there's, I want to say 60 patients in this particular ward, and they're busy every second of the day. They're torn between 5, 8 people that each one takes care of, and these are people who are unable to take care of themselves.
Right.
So it's tough. No, I'm not saying by any means everything's been perfect. I mean, we definitely have our days when it's tough. But you got to try to swallow it, and the next day is a new start. So
you all have advocated for change. And I think this is something we have struggled with, because how much can you push on a skilled nursing facility without threat of being asked to leave?
Yeah.
And so any words of advice on things that maybe you've done that, when you've not been satisfied and you've gone, any kind of words of advice that you might have for folks?
I mean, generally speaking, and this is very, very tough to do, but when I had my own company, I found it to be very effective. And that is trying as best as you can to frame everything in a framework of positivity. If you have a complaint, no complaint should be provided without also providing a potential solution. Give these caregivers a way out in a positive, constructive way. So, for example, my mother-in-law, we're trying to get her to have her water bottle with her constantly, stay hydrated. And so, and if ever, and it's rare, but if ever we see her in this big room where they keep them, and she doesn't have her water bottle, you try to, you bring the water bottle out and show the caregiver, it's important that she be hydrated. It helps so many ways. I'm sure and then you try to turn it into a positive discussion. And we've had some incremental improvements. There's some areas that are very difficult to resolve, and that is directly related to staffing. There's also trying to let each person at the agency know that, there's a bunch of people with gray hair or no hair.
We're not judged. We don't feel you have to have hair, Mike. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you. I identify with that. But they're people, they're individuals. These are people who brought us out of World War II, who created this incredible country we have. It wasn't us, it was them and their parents. These are unique individuals. And when you talk to them, and my mother-in-law is in a memory care section of the hospital and of the residents. And you have discussions with these individuals and you can see their personality come out and they brighten up, they sparkle. When I walk into the room now, and same with Doreen, my wife, people will wave to us, they'll smile, we didn't do anything great. We're just talking to them.
Showed up.
And so, and we're trying to instill that into the caregivers directly, because again, for them, it's another job. No, it's not. It's very unique, very different. So we're constantly trying to reinforce that angle as well.
So Mike, you retired in 2021. So not that long ago. So I'm looking at my date down there. I'm like 22 years. So was caregiving on your bucket list? Did you think that would be part of your retirement plan?
It was after going to the beach, going to Europe, none of it happened. So it came first. It was an understanding. I mean, I knew, when you're a kid and you think about retirement, retirement is not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been a big adjustment, no doubt.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you take, let me make sure I'm clear. Mike and Doreen go and visit Delores every day.
Essentially, yes.
And so, because if you're given one meal, because you said the hired caregivers, let me ask you, well, before I go into the other, how much does it crawl up your rear that you have to pay someone in addition to the services that your mother-in-law is getting from the facility?
It's, what gets me, we're very fortunate that we're able to afford to be able to pay someone.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the thousands and hundreds of thousands who can't.
That's right.
What's happening to those people? We have 60 million baby boomers that are going to be deluging facilities that are already working on one wheel. What's going to happen? That's what concerns me. We're blessed that we're able to bring people in there and that she's close to us. I'm worried about those that aren't going to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's true. And, we just had to hire somebody to support our mom in addition to, and I'm going to tell you, it really just, and this is the only way to put it. Jay, if you need to beep right after, just beep.
I'll do it.
Beep. It pisses me off that our federal tax dollars and my tax dollars go to support, because My mom it's the spin down. You don't get, Medicare is not paying for skilled nursing facilities. And so the people that we reimburse, we have to pay for this on top of it. And it just doesn't seem right. And, I feel like this is a government issue that we need to do is there different policies we can put in place? I know you had a great idea when we were in New York. You were saying, hey, for all these people who want their education, forgiven, how about we have them do volunteer time in our skilled nursing facilities or with a person who's aging in place? I think it's a great idea. Like,
nothing is for free. Volunteer.
Nothing's free. Volunteer. Give back to your community. It makes kinder communities. Because Mike, you're right. And by 2030, we will have 73 million unpaid caregivers from now 53. In the next 10 years, it's going to be a huge deficit. There's not enough human capital to support. So how do we start demonstrating kindness? And so I want everybody to know it was Mike's idea about the student loan forgiveness. I thought that, I'm like, if we're going to do it, you know what? That feels pretty good as opposed to nothing. So this is not a political show, but I'm just like, what a great idea, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm giving you all the credit. I'm going to be like, dear legislator. So I think about that. So let me ask you this. This is a tough one too, because, we're getting close to my time. Do you think that this has impacted your marriage? I know it's impacted. How has this impacted your marriage and your relationship with the boys?
It's interesting. It's been tough, no doubt about it. We have very little time to do anything quote unquote fun. Go just drop everything. We used to just drop everything and take off on a trip and things like that. That doesn't happen. So it's been hard, but it's also brought us closer together. And so, and I've told my boys, I said, look, because we spend a lot of time supporting my mother-in-law. And I told my boys, look, if I ever end up like this, and I won't, we normally die from heart attacks, but if
our family committed to this a long time ago.
Yes. But if you're in the situation where if I get in this situation, I told my sons, look, I do not want you to do what we're doing. I want you to enjoy your lives, come and visit me 3 times a week, give me a hug, kisses, and then go. And then come back a couple of days later.
Just planning.
Just have fun. And I hope they'll do that.
Yeah. Well, I think unfortunately the role modeling that you guys have shown with such love and care, I think they'll come see you. And I don't think it's unfortunately. I think it's fortunately. I think we didn't get to meet Anthony. We're judging you. But we met Chris, and it's funny because when we were helping to get Delores came in, they were helping get Delores up the back stairs, and it's just a couple of stairs. Chris fussed at his parents because yes, they are aging. And he says, let me do this. I've got the strength. And the look, and we're going to talk to Chris at some point, the look that Delores just looked at him, it's very clear she is aware of Chris. She is very clear of that. There is such a relationship there in just the going up of the stairs and the way that he handles her and loves on her and supports you. You all have fostered a family of care, and it's a beautiful thing. The kindness that you guys have and the kindness you have towards Delores, and the kindness and the love that you have for your boys. Those boys, I already know Anthony, even though again we haven't seen you. Chris loves you guys, and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of their big Italian family, because they truly do take everyone in. So.
Thank you very much.
It's a privilege, and you've been such a great parent because you've been a great role model. So these sisters absolutely love you. So anyway, JJ, it is time for sister question.
I'm ready. I'm so ready, Mike. So Mike, first of all, because I know Natalie will let me talk after I get my question in. I got to hurry. Thank you. Big time, because like I said, I'm always team Mike, but you are an inspiration, because all I hear is just love. And I know that caregiving is hard, but you don't give yourself enough credit, Mike. And because I see the care that you give to everyone in your family, and just realize that you care for so many. You cared for us as guests, your whole family did, but you are amazing. So that's my first comment.
Suffer through the compliment.
Okay, there you go, compliment. And then one thing that you do that you enjoy to do. You cannot bring everybody else in, but I'm like, what is Mike's go-to? Like, what do you enjoy doing, Mike? What's a pastime?
I just enjoy being with people, honestly. I love people. It doesn't matter what we do. We can clean a septic tank. As long as I'm with other people, it's great.
We could clean a septic tank. Well,
Natalie, he's all yours.
awesome.
I can't beat that.
No, you can't. Mental note, I'm not going to do that with Mike. But okay, Mike, here's the big question. It's my favorite one. What is your favorite guilty pleasure?
Okay.
What is your favorite that you wouldn't share with anybody? What is your favorite guilty pleasure?
It is, don't tell my wife, but she knows, eating chocolate. I should not eat chocolate, but I can't help it. It's just, God put it on the earth, I think, just for me.
To be consumed.
That is so sweet. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Oh, oh, look at
With
that.
an occasional dark chocolate chaser.
Oh, chaser.
Oh, you had me at chaser. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, JJ, make a mental note because we know what we're sending.
Milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate doesn't matter. Well, Mike, thanks so much for being here with us. This was so much fun. And we
thank you as well. You guys are great. And I appreciate everything that you're doing. It makes a difference. It really does.
Wow.
You're a blessing, Mike.
Well, guys, thanks so much for listening in. I'm so glad you got to hear Mike's side of the story. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Doreen's, make sure you jump over and listen to hers. She's a touch more New Yorker. That accent's fantastic. She's fast. So, guys, thanks so much for being here. Mike, thanks for being with us. And until we confess again, thanks so much.
Thank you.